Hello, lovely listeners. Today we have a special episode where we are talking with Lauren Loparo. This has been about, I think, 3 months since she gave birth to her beautiful baby boy, Gavin. And she has the unique experience of having given birth to her first child in a hospital and her second in a birthing center. So she's got a firsthand take on the differences between both of them and some of the challenges leading up and that come with both and the advantages that come with either one. You guys, I don't know if you're supposed to be ugly face crying with laughter when you hear somebody's birth story, but that's what I did. And I think you might too. And this was even the second time I heard it. So as usual, Lauren Loparo is bringing us the very raw and real take on her experiences. So it's a fun and informative listen, and I hope that you enjoy it. Hi, friends. This is just a quick reminder that this is a podcast and therefore not meant as individual medical advice. We do discuss our own medical experiences on the show, as well as supplements and other healthcare approaches. When we do that, please see the show notes for any additional information regarding these resources. And with any change to your healthcare routine, please do the appropriate amount of due diligence before making any changes. On with the show. Okay, welcome back to the 40 and Unfiltered Podcast. We have Lauren Loparo back with us, and congratulations. She had a beautiful baby boy, Gavin. Yeah. And today we're going to hear all about the birthing center birth experience. But first, how are you feeling? Yeah. You said before that he was like a good sleeper and stuff like that, but so have things changed or?
He is a good sleeper, but it's if he's full.
Mm-hmm.
I think she wasn't a good sleeper because she was never full, which is a whole nother topic. And I don't produce enough breast milk. And people try to tell me to do different things and this and that. And whichever way you slice it, for whatever reason, I just don't produce enough milk. So if he's only breastfed, then he's a little fussy or give him formula, which I know I'm making formula from scratch. Things that go with it. He's gassy, he's constipated, or congested, so it's
that's
how I feel right.
What formula are you? Yeah, what formula are you using? What recipe for the formula are you using?
It's not, and they this is the other thing. It's so crazy. So they have a kit that you can order from them that has everything you need: vitamins, probiotics, DHA, everything that you need to go into the recipe, plus the recipe. Well, I ordered it, and then literally 2 or 3 days later, got an email saying the FDA recalled the kit. It didn't recall it because of any contaminants or bacteria or nothing with the actual product. It was because the guy who started the company, I think, was a food scientist, or his background is in food science. So he created a recipe 15 years ago or something, and he offers substitution. So it's a whole milk goat powder, goat lactose, goat ghee, olive oil, grapeseed oil, molasses, and then once a day there's a probiotic, a multivitamin, DHA, and goat colostrum. Well, he offers substitutes, so if kids or babies can't tolerate the lactose, then the substitute is maple syrup. If they can't tolerate the grapeseed oil, the substitute's hemp seed oil. The substitute for the ghee is coconut oil. So apparently the FDA recalled it because somebody complained saying something along the lines of their baby wasn't getting enough nutrients from the substitutions.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, do I send this back or do I use it? So I'm like, this is ridiculous, because I looked at the guy's background, like, he's a food scientist. Like, that doesn't, like, obviously he would know what to put in it to mimic what would be in breast milk. And then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, and plus, if you look at the ingredients on even the best formulas, it's still shit.
Yeah. Have you ever looked at the I think I suggested this with your last pregnancy too, of their Weston A. Price has a formula. Yeah.
Yes, so they do. So theirs is similar, but it's with cow's milk versus
goat. Yeah.
I feel like that recipe was a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. I remember it having like quite a few things.
Well, and even this one seemed like it was going to be difficult to make. Once I did it a couple times, it's super easy. And then even with the substitution, it's pretty easy. So I just went with goat because it's supposed to be easier to digest.
Right. Yeah.
It's true. Now I'm like, okay, well, where's his congestion? A dairy allergy, just in general, or does he just have like a sinus thing that just happened within the last week or so?
Yeah.
So I have done some of the substitutions because he's been so gassy. So I took out the lactose. So now I'm doing maple syrup. I took out the colostrum and the DHA and the probiotic, because I think one of those things is making him gassy. So I took all those out yesterday, and there definitely was a difference. So
yeah.
I think I might just have to add one thing at a time to see.
Have you are you still breastfeeding as well?
So yes, so I'm breastfeeding and I'm pumping, but I'm still not making a lot. I might get anywhere 2 to 4 ounces, just depending on the time that goes by. So
yeah,
he was on my boob, so I didn't give him one bottle.
Yeah.
He wakes up in the morning and he's starving versus sleeping on me the whole time. If I give him a bottle, he will go in his bassinet and he will sleep for like 3 hours. So
yeah, I wonder if that's what I was gonna. Yeah,
but he still has those issues. But like I said, yesterday was a lot better since I took out the colostrum, the probiotic, and the DHA. I don't know if one could be causing the gas, but I don't do the lactose. I do the maple syrup instead because of that.
Right. So. Wild. The stuff that's in the regular formulas and stuff like that is like just nowhere near what breast milk consists of. So it's like weird, you know?
And then you look at like, they have tons of sensitive stomach formulas, which everybody whose kid has a sensitive stomach, they swear by it, but the ingredients in it are disgusting. I don't even think there's dairy in it at all. Like, I think it's just all synthetic oils and sugars, and I don't even know. So I'm like, that's not an option. And the main one, I think it might have been Enfamil's Nutramigen, it's called, was just recalled too. So I don't know again why that was recalled. Like the Mount Capra was recalled, but for a totally different reason. Who knows? So anyway, so yeah, that's the journey right now, is trying to figure out the belly situation.
So, and then also, have you looked at the breast milk donation? Is that something you would be comfortable with?
I think in Florida, or in South Florida, it's just really hard to find. Like, I don't think they do it here, or if they do, it's like very limited.
Yeah, they have like because I remember Daniela, my friend Daniela, going through this I don't know if she used it or not. But I know she was looking into it because she was having issues for a while. I don't know. But there's like Facebook groups and stuff that, there's like exchanges and stuff. And I'm not bringing up any of this as like me giving advice on any of it. It's just stuff I'm aware of, because there's a lot of ways to like get this done. And like traditionally, it wasn't always one person nursing a child. It was several.
Guess what that Handmaid's Tale show is about, which I never knew. It's like something crazy like.
Well,
something.
No, you.
Dream version, I guess.
Yeah. You should watch it sometime, maybe when the kids are, in like 5 or 7 years, when you have time.
No, I do it with Marley, because places that offer it through actual like donation centers, they treat it almost as like blood donation. So they're testing and doing all this stuff. Like, I don't know if I'd be comfortable going on a Facebook group and getting breast.
Right. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. I don't remember.
Yeah. I understand that people are extremely crazy, and I just don't know what people are.
Right. Yep. That makes sense. But yeah, I think that there are just like direct exchanges and stuff like that for people that are real intent on, because I think it's harder to get that way for sure. But anyway.
But some states big on like they have it.
Right. Like it.
Just, I don't think it's really almost 3 months, and we've managed to get this far, and he's not
right.
Like Harley really. But for her, it was during COVID, so I all the time in the world she could be on my boob, and it didn't matter. Like, where was I going? It's
right.
With him, it just, I don't have that option. But
right,
it also is a lot better. Like, even if he does get a bottle and he's full, and even if he is a little gassy or constipated, he's still not. She just.
Yeah. Boy. Yeah. So, are you ready to tell us about your big birthing adventure in the birth center?
I don't know how animated it'll be when I first told you about it, because it's been almost 3 months now. So.
Right. Probably block some of it out.
This is more than one kid, because they forget everything. So, the week that I had him, Gavin was born March 30th. I was not due until technically like April. So he came 5 days early. So, Wednesday, which would have been the 27th, the 27th, March 27th, went in for my weekly checkup. So they told me that my fundal height went down by, I guess, like 2 centimeters. So I didn't know what a fundal height was, even though I already was a kid. Your fundal height is the measure of your belly. So they measure every week to see how it's growing. So that's a way to tell, like, is the baby growing? Is your placenta still doing what it's supposed to do? All that stuff. So they said that 2 centimeters, I'm just assuming now centimeters, it could be inches. Whatever they're measuring. Maybe it is inches. That might make more sense. Anyways, whatever it is.
Yeah, I feel like a good burp could change your stomach.
Okay, so inches.
2 centimeters. Yeah.
It went down 2 inches. So for them, that's a big deal. So something at that point shifted enough to where they wanted me to get an ultrasound, but they wanted me to get an ultrasound like right away within the next day or 2. So I started freaking out, because I'm like, the week before he was very active. And then that week he wasn't as active. So I already was a little nervous because he wasn't being as active. Like his movement really, really slowed down. So I was like, okay, well, it's one of two things. Either something is going on that we need to check, or he's ready to come out. And when I went to them, and they were like, basically making it a big deal that my fundal height went down, then I started really getting nervous. And then they're telling me I need an ultrasound like right away. And they're not about the ultrasounds usually. So I'm trying to make an appointment to the perinatal place that I was going.
Why? Sorry, why are they not about ultrasounds?
So midwives or birth centers usually aren't, because they feel like they do want you to get maybe like 2 throughout your pregnancy. But if you go to like a traditional OB, they might send you like if I were to go to the perinatal doctor, the way that the perinatal wanted me to go, after, I think it was at 35 weeks, they wanted me to go every single week for an ultrasound.
Wow.
Right. So midwives are like, they just want like the 20 week is the anatomical. So they're measuring every single thing. They're measuring the circumference of the head, the length of the bones, making sure all the fingers and toes are there, and the face is developing, all of the organs are developing. So that's a really important one that they want you to do. And then maybe one other one. And that's it. So, because some people just also don't believe that you need ultrasounds on a constant basis. A lot of people think that it does have some negative effect on babies.
And the birthing center doesn't have an ultrasound machine?
No, they don't have an ultrasound machine. But a lot of offices don't either. So they either send you to like Acumen or one of the imaging
somewhere. So annoying. That's one thing that was like nice about other countries, is going for a gynecological exam. I didn't need to like make a separate appointment with an ultrasound tech or whatever. Like the gynecologist just did it right there, which is I think what used to happen often.
And you would think that, not with the birth center because it's a little different, but you would think at an OB's office, any OB, that they would have somebody right there. But so the midwife, the birth center, for any ultrasound, they send you to a perinatal doctor, which is smart on their part, because that's what a perinatal doctor does. They look at the fetus. So they're getting like extra information if something happened, versus an ultrasound tech, because even with an ultrasound tech, a doctor or somebody is looking at the ultrasound to go over it. Right. So, because technically, I don't think legally they can give you the information. I think legally they can do the imaging, but can't tell you what's happening. So, but that's why I think the birth center will always send people to a perinatologist. So the place that I was going to, the perinatal doctor, would not see me. They wouldn't squeeze me in, even though I told them it was an emergency. And I think they were pissed because I canceled my last appointment that I was supposed to go to. Which, whatever. So then I had to call another place. They wouldn't give me an appointment until I had a referral. It's like, you know how it goes. It's like so ridiculous. So I couldn't get a referral because the midwife wasn't answering me. So they weren't sending the referral. So I couldn't get an appointment. So I was like, at this point, getting really upset. So I went to the emergency room. And I was like, okay, well, at least they'll be able to do an ultrasound to see if the baby's moving at this point.
Right.
In the emergency room, I go to Holy Cross, even though I knew there wasn't a labor and delivery department, but I figured any doctor could just put the ultrasound machine on my belly to see if the baby's moving. Like, to me, it doesn't seem that difficult. I'm not a doctor, but I've had enough ultrasounds that it's not that big a deal. Like,
You're just like, just give me the jelly, switch it on.
You don't need a medical degree to look in there. Like, it's so crazy. So anyways, I ended up going, And I asked before I even got checked in, I said, I know you don't have a labor and delivery department, but will somebody at least be able to look at the baby to make sure the baby's moving?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So I get into the emergency room. The doctor comes in, the ER doctor. He says to me, just so you know, I'm not an OB or a perinatal doctor, so I don't know what I'm doing. This is what the ER doctor's telling me. I'm like,
yeah.
Already, I'm like, then why are you here? Like, why are you
right.
coming into this room right now? And I was already upset that if I said anything, I was gonna just eat him alive. So I just didn't
Right.
say anything, which I really regret. Like, if I see him on the street anywhere in Fort Lauderdale, I'm gonna go on.
He's gonna hear it.
Tell him his medical degree should be revoked, or his medical license or whatever, because his bedside manner was awful.
Yeah.
Even the nurse, he said something to the nurse, and she was just like, "Are you fucking serious?" So he comes in, he says that, he's like, "Let's do your ultrasound." So he's like, "Well, this far along, we want to see the head in the down position." I'm like, no fucking shit. Of course we want to see, I'm 9 months pregnant. I'm about to have this kid. Yes, of course we want to see the head down. Like, I don't even understand what's happening right now. We're going to transfer you to Broward General. I'm like, you're not transferring me. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not being transferred to Broward General. If you want to transfer me somewhere, it's going to be to Coral Springs. I'm not going to Broward General. Well, then that's your decision. I'm like, yeah, it is my decision. I don't need to go to another hospital. If I wanted to go to Broward General, I would have gone there to begin with, or to Coral Springs. I came here because I didn't think it would be a big deal for you to look at the ultrasound. Well, I'm not an OB. I'm like, I know you're not an OB. I didn't come here for you to be an OB. I came here for you to give me an ultrasound.
Are you even a doctor?
Listen, I wanted to ask him that at some point. Like, are you even a doctor? Like, what is happening right now? So he puts the gel on my belly. He literally goes, "Oh, I think that's the head," takes the wand off, and that is it. I was like, I think I'm taking crazy pills at this point. I'm like, I can't even be upset anymore because this guy is pissing me off so bad. And I can't. So before I even went into the emergency room, I talked to the midwife after I already got checked in to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting now to get in to be seen. So the midwife calls me and she's like, well, why did you go to the emergency room? I'm like, well, one, because you made it seem like it was a really big deal. Two, I can't get an appointment with the perinatologist. You haven't sent the referral. So the next option for me was to come here. You weren't answering. Like, what did you want me to do? Well, I didn't mean for you to get this upset. That's not what I meant. I'm like, well, you were telling me you need to get an ultrasound this week. It was Wednesday at 12 o'clock when I left their office. So what happens with doctor's offices, they close for about an hour and a half for lunch. So by the time I got to talk to anybody, it's already like 2 on a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Expect me to get an appointment on a Thursday or a Friday? Like, really? And you didn't expect me to freak out because you were making it seem pretty urgent. So what was I supposed to do? Like, you're talking to a hormonal pregnant person. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So anyways, I left the hospital annoyed. So I ended up finally Thursday getting an appointment with the perinatal doctor on Friday at 11 a.m. So Friday at 11 a.m. I go to this new perinatal doctor. She's like, oh, his head's in position. He's down in your canal. That's probably why you haven't been feeling him. He's good. And he literally, like, she had to shake my belly so bad just to wake him up because he was sleeping. Like, he would not budge because he was just sleeping, just comfortable, like, wow. Wall. So that was at 11. Go to work. I had a client at, I think, noon or 1, maybe, something like that. And then another client. So I had 2 clients back to back. It was probably around 3:30, 4 o'clock. I go to meet my parents at Whole Foods so I could get Marley from them. I'm walking the produce section at Whole Foods and I feel a leak. And I said, oh shit, I think my water is breaking. or I'm peeing. So I said to my parents, let me go to the bathroom. I didn't tell them anything. I went to the bathroom, peed. So I said, okay, just peed. Went back, started shopping, and every so often there was a leak. And I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, all right, Marley, we got to hurry up. We got all the groceries checked out. I get in the car, call my midwife. It's like 4:30. And she said, okay, go home. This is what you're going to do to see if it's your water that actually broke. She's like, it could be anything. You have 2 sacks. It could be 1. That's not a big deal. She's like, but if it's the actual both bags that broke, now we're on a time clock, because once your water breaks, you have 24 hours to get the baby out, because otherwise then there's more concern for bacteria for a vaginal birth.
Okay.
So I go home. She tells me to get a paper towel, to basically squat over it, jump up and down, wiggle up and down, and shake my belly. And then send her a picture of the paper towel. Because I guess depending on that, the amount of water that comes out, she could tell whether it's your actual sex or if it's just something else. Whatever.
Okay.
So I text her a picture, and she's like, yeah, I think your water did break. She's like, okay, come in at 7 p.m. and we'll test your amniotic fluid. So my parents come in with Marley. Steve gets home. We go to the birth center, and she takes a Q-tip, and she's like, this is going to turn black instantly if there's amniotic fluid. So she barely sticks it in. She's like, yep, your water broke. So I said, okay, this is it. The time has come.
Yeah. It's weird. It seems like those little sticks would be something they would send home in a kit with you.
Yeah, you would think so.
So you wouldn't have to jump up and down on a paper towel and wiggle your belly.
Maybe they're expensive. I don't know.
Yep.
So she said, she's like, you're not having contractions. I said, no, I'm not having contractions. And this was the same thing that happened with Marley. I leaked a little bit, never had contractions. And now we're here. So she said, okay, she gave me an enema, herbs with an enema. I said, oh, Jesus, okay. She's like, Steve's going to probably have to give this to you. I said, no way. He's not giving me an enema. And then she gave me herbs to drink. So I was like, oh my God. So by the time we get home, she's like, okay, it'll be probably, we'll say it's 8 o'clock by the time you get home and do all this stuff. And she's like, and I'm going to give you a pump, a breast pump. So you're going to pump also throughout every so often to stimulate, that helps stimulate the contraction or something. So we go home. I'm like, you're not doing the enema for me. This is ridiculous. I'm not bending over for you to stick something up my butt. No, I'm not into, I've never been into anything like that. So no, I'm not.
I'm definitely not into it now.
Enough of me. Yeah, this is it. No, we're done. So I go in the bathroom. I'm able to turn, because my belly is big now, and I'm on all fours, but down on my elbows, trying to get this thing in me. So I'm sticking this thing up my butt, and now I can't squeeze it because I can't turn enough because my belly's too big. So now I'm on my knees and my elbows, one hand on the bottle, but I can't squeeze it. I'm like, oh.
I'm so close.
So I call Steve. So Steve comes in, and he's squeezing it. And he's like, okay, I think I have to take it out and refill the bottle with air because it won't squeeze anymore because there's more herbs in there. I was like, no. I said, no, I will do it. I said, get out of the bathroom. I'll take it out, put it back in, and then you could come back in. So we did that, finished. So I'm just sitting there on my forearms and on my knees with my butt in there. Because she's like, okay, now you have to hold it in there, hold the herbs in there for as long as possible. I probably made it like 2 minutes. So then from there, it's just like the world opened up and everything's coming out, and I'm like, the cleanse is happening. And now I'm just peeing out of my butt constantly all night long. So now it's probably like 8:30. Okay. I'm pumping. So fast forward, now it's probably like 10:30. My midwife texts me. She's like, "Do you have any contractions yet?" I said, "No contractions yet." And she's like, "Okay, get some rest, lay down, go to sleep, and call me at 4 a.m. I said, "Okay." So it's probably like midnight. I decide I'm going to go in bed. I'm not sleeping because there's no sleeping at this point. It's like, who can sleep when they know they're about to go or have a baby. So, so I go sit down in bed. I put the TV on. Steve comes to bed. He's asleep. And then all of a sudden, I start feeling like it's almost like an upset stomach. Like that's what my contractions started feeling like, because I didn't have any contractions with Marley. So I don't really know what what I was supposed to be feeling. So then it's turning into like a really bad stomach ache. Like that's what it feels like. Like nothing else in my body except for a really bad stomach ache. Like the worst diarrhea you're about to have. So that's what I'm feeling. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're coming quicker and quicker. So now I'm timing it. There's like all kinds of stuff now that you can time your contractions. So now I'm timing my contractions, and they're pretty quick. They're like every couple of minutes apart. So then it's like 12:30 a.m. I call my midwife. I'm like, okay, I'm having contractions. She said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "I'm pretty fucking sure that I'm having contractions." And she's like, "Okay, are they intense?" I'm like, "They're not super intense, but they're intense enough for me to know. Like, it feels like I'm about to have diarrhea." Like, go ahead.
So it felt more like that than like period cramps, like bad period cramps?
I never really had period cramps, so I don't know. I know.
Oh, okay.
I never really had those symptoms, so I couldn't say. But probably it's similar. So
yeah.
Like if I ever had any physical pains, it was always a backache. But that was so she's like, "Okay, it's 12:30. She's like, "All right, let's meet at the birth center in 40 minutes." Now at this point at 12:30 a.m., I'm like, 40 minutes? That there's no way I'm making it 40 minutes. Like this kid's gonna come out. Like that's how much I was progressing, like how fast I was progressing. So I'm like, okay, I'll get some stuff together. I'll get myself ready. I'll brush my teeth. I'll change. So I did all that. I'm doing like
You're like, I'm
doing all the.
You just distract yourself from going into labor.
I'll distract myself for the 40 minutes to go by, and 10 minutes goes by. I'm like, there's no way I can wait another 30 minutes. Like this is not happening. So I'm like, okay, I'll get in the bathtub, because people say if you get in the bathtub, it lessens the pressure of the contractions. So I get in the bathtub. No, that didn't happen. That was not happening for me. I'm like, this is bullshit. This is a bullshit thing. There's no way that just sitting in the water lessens the contractions. I'm sorry. So I'm in the bathtub probably for like 10 minutes. And then I said to Steve, I was like, let's just go. We gotta go. So I get from my door. I'm like, I don't even know if I can make it to the elevator without like being in pain from contractions. So I get to the elevator. By the time I get in the elevator, now the contraction sets in. So we get downstairs. We're like almost to the car. Contraction sets in. So like, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to sit in the car? Thank God the birth center is only 10 minutes away from us. So I'm like, doing all my breath work and everything I can to not focus on the contractions. So we get to the birth center, we get in the exam room, and she's like trying to do all kinds of examinations on me. I'm like, do you not understand the seriousness of what is happening right now? And I don't think that she understood. I was. Because I think they're so used to having these labors that are like 30 hours or maybe even 10 hours, not like an hour
or two. Yeah.
or whatever it was, 2 hours.
Yeah.
So she's like examining me, and then I don't know what the hell she was doing, to be honest with you, but I'm getting up, I'm walking around, and all of a sudden, this one contraction brought me down. I top of my lungs and was down on my knees. She comes in the room. She's like, okay. She's like, I think we should go into the bathtub. I'm like, you think? So then we get into they have 2 birthing suites. So we get into the birthing suite, and the bathtub isn't even filled up. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not having a water bath at this point. Or a water birth. This kid is coming out. So
right, this kid's going to be born into a puddle.
So I'm like pacing around the room, and I don't know. She told me to go into the bathroom for some reason. I don't know what I was going in the bathroom for, but I get into the bathroom, and a contraction brought me down. Plus, it made me shit on the floor. I'm like, oh my God. So now I have the midwife and Steve, and I'm like walking into the bathroom, shitting on the floor because of this freaking enema.
God, I can't now. I remember when you told me this the first time. I can't even.
Well, and then on top of it, if you've ever seen birth, that's what it looked like, because I was taking chlorophyll before, for the 2 to 4 weeks before that, I was taking chlorophyll every day. So now my shit is green, like bright green. So I'm like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing.
Oh my God.
So then I get on the toilet for whatever. I still don't remember why I was on the toilet. Maybe she wanted me to poop one more time or something. I don't have any idea. Well, that happened. But at that point, it didn't matter. So then finally, she's like, okay, let's get in the tub. So I get in the tub. Now I'm in the tub, and I'm on my hands and knees. So,
oh God.
Yeah, are you imagining?
I can't. I'm remembering the next part. I can't.
There's more though. There's more.
I know.
Wait, I'm in the tub. I'm on my hands and knees. Now I'm like an octopus, because every time a contraction comes and I push, I'm like an octopus with ink coming out. So now I'm like squirting green ink out of my ass in the bathtub. Yeah. So
the beautiful miracle of birth. Goddess.
Oh my God. And Steve is like right next to me, and he's trying to be a coach. He's like, just breathe, just breathe. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm going to punch you in the face. Just breathe. What the fuck do you think I'm doing? I'm breathing. Trust me, I'm breathing.
You breathe. That's why I always anytime I thought of potentially, if I ever had a child or whatever, I would definitely go off by myself and just let my partner know when it's over.
Well, and in this moment, the whole time I'm like, now I know why people do epidurals. Now I know why people have epidurals. And I'm saying this over and over in my head. Now I know why there's epidurals. So
Oh my God.
for probably like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, when a contraction came, I was screaming so loud. I'm like, thank God nobody else is here. Thank God the neighbors
Yeah.
know what's happening here. Otherwise, they would think I'm being murdered. And then the midwife finally says to me, okay, the next time you have a contraction, hold your breath. So I did that. And let me tell you, it definitely changed everything, because it was almost as if at that point, holding my breath was helping me push more. So
Like bear down, yeah.
wasn't necessarily because of the pain. It was just helping me take my mind off of it. Like, yes, it was painful, but it was more to just, like when, I guess my way to compare this is like when people are at the gym and they're lifting weights and they're over exaggerating. They're like,
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. So it was just like helping to put my focus somewhere else, if that makes sense. So,
well, you also, in certain lifts, you're supposed to like hold your breath on the, the exertion.
So
yeah.
That helped. So that helped a lot. And it was helping me push easier too. So then finally she was like, maybe another 5 or 10 minutes goes by. And she's like, you know what? Why don't you turn around on your back? She's like, I think the way that I was on my hands and knees, almost like in a, almost like in a, like in a happy, not a happy baby, a child's pose, but not all the way down. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
right.
So she's like, I think that's closing you off so that the baby is having a harder time to come. So she's like, turn on your back. So I turn on my back, but the tubs are so big. It's not like a tub that's in your house. This thing is massive.
Yeah.
It's like the size of a jacuzzi. And so now I'm like a beach whale, like floating around, trying to hold my knees up and push. I'm like,
wait, so you're like more buoyant?
yes. And four. So it's like at this point, okay, maybe if I were taller, it would be easier to do that. So my legs
You're like pushing and then going.
so
You're like pushing and then going underwater.
So I'm like standing on my back and I'm like turning. Like, so then her and Steve kind of like she's on one side, Steve's on the other side, and they're like trying to help keep me stable.
Oh my God.
And so I probably was only like that for a couple of minutes, and then I was able to push his head out. So his head is coming out. All of a sudden, his little peanut head comes out. I scream, get him out! Get him out! His little head is just sitting there. And I'm like, oh. People say this is orgasmic. No, this is all lies. I'm so sorry, but no, this is all lies. First of all, water does not help lessen the contractions, at least not in my case. And I'm telling you the truth. I'm not going to lie to you. And once the baby's head comes out, it's orgasmic. Bullshit. Since when? No, it's not. And let me tell you, my babies are peanuts. Okay, so it's not like I had a little tiny thing come out. So no, it was not orgasmic. And he wasn't facing backwards, which is supposedly very painful. He was facing the correct way. Oh. So then I did one more push and he came out. Okay, so then he's out. Okay, well now the placenta has to come out. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to push anymore. Like I'm done. Like it hasn't even been that long, but I don't want to push anything else out of my body. So you just have to push one more time. And I was like, okay, fine. So I pushed the placenta out. The placenta comes out. Oh my God. So that was pretty much it. I'm like, Jesus. Why did I do this again? Why did I choose this? because I thought it was going to be easy and I thought it was going to be like the most beautiful thing on the planet. Maybe like a few minutes goes by and everything's good. It's just, a very chaotic moment. But then I talked to friends, like one of my good friends, she was in labor, active labor with contractions for 30 hours. I'm like, no way. No.
Yeah.
So by the time I started having contractions, that was at like around 12:30. He was out by 2:15 a.m. So it was not even 2 hours, or just about 2 hours from the time my contractions hit to the time he was out. And I think he would have been out way quicker if I would have been holding my breath, pushing, and on my back the whole time. I think he would have come out in 15 minutes. It was just under 2 hours, or we'll say even 2 hours. We'll give myself 2 hours from the time I started having contractions to the time he came out, and we were home by 4:30 a.m.
Crazy.
So we weren't even there for a full 4 hours. We were there for like 3.5 hours, and then we were home. Now with Marley,
I've spent more time at the DMV.
Yeah, with Marley, I went to the hospital it was probably like 7 or 8 p.m. on a Saturday, and didn't get out until like 5 p.m. on a Tuesday.
I wonder what the difference in, obviously you had insurance, stuff like that. I wonder what the difference in the bills would be.
Oh, I'll tell you. With Marley.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was fully covered with Marley, and I got an invoice from the hospital, just the hospital, not the anesthesiologist, not the OB, not any of like the testing that's done. $85,000 or something, I think.
Oh my God.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Wow.
Yeah. In the birth center, if you paid full price, like their full price, if you don't have insurance, the insurance they take is like $7,000. And that's for everything. That's for the prenatal care, the delivery, and the postnatal care. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And you saw how much blood work they did with me. I was doing blood work I think my last 4 weeks, I did it every week because we're
going to talk about your blood work, but in another episode with a guest, but I wish I would have done a little more testing because, things like, because you were dehydrated afterwards. And then you had so many issues with like being constipated and like tired and stuff like that. It would have been great to be able to, look and see if you were missing some nutrients or, you know what I mean? Like,
okay. So what's interesting is, yes, I was 100% dehydrated through my whole pregnancy. And it wasn't because I didn't want to drink water. It was, I was just getting full so quick. So it was like either drink water or eat food. Like I just couldn't have both. Like I just was getting so full. So I tried to do a little bit of both. Like I drink water. I drink a ton of water constantly, but it was just, sorry.
Well, yeah. And there can be a few different factors, but also there'd be other ways to like hydrate you other than drinking like mass quantities of water, like you can do like broths and like foods that are wetter and, but also,
these fruit that I know would help with hydration, but it just was.
Yeah, it's filling too.
A constant battle.
And then, so I wonder, because you were so full and there was no room, I mean, do you, if you were fighting to get liquids and foods in or whatever, do you feel like you were able to eat enough? Because then I wonder if that had something to do with the anemia.
I probably wasn't getting enough food. No, I probably wasn't getting enough calories. And I was working a lot too.
Yeah.
So it was like, because I wasn't always really hungry either. And I retained way more water this time than I did with Marley. I also wasn't as active. Like with her, I worked out
Yeah.
the entire time. This time, I just was so
Mm-hmm.
exhausted constantly that if I wanted to work out, it wasn't happening. And in the very beginning, when I first got pregnant, I think my SI joint was so off and like kept moving that my back was hurting so bad that I tried to go on walks and it just wasn't happening. Because I figured
Yeah.
even if I can just go out for a walk every day, that would be something. But even that, it was killing me.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was just sort of a cascade of things, but it just would have been interesting to kind of have like a
bigger picture.
more complete blood work and then be able to like
Yeah.
work around some of these issues. Cause it just sounds like one thing, because probably since you were in pain, you weren't moving around, you weren't like, flushing out fluids as well. And then because you were so like swollen and full, then there wasn't as much room. And then, I mean, probably, I don't know that there's any way around. Sometimes the baby just takes up so much space and it's going to affect like how much you can eat, but then eating, like focusing on very concentrated, food sources or.
I don't even think he was the issue because we all thought he was going to be so big because my belly got so big. I just felt heavy, but he was only 6 pounds, 5 ounces. So I think it was just a variable of things that.
Yeah. I mean, just maybe the way he was like hanging out and what he was just pushing on different places. And, I don't know. Do boys and girls like sit in different spots? That's supposed to be a thing. They're like boys stick out or something like that. Like, the girls.
They think that they could tell if it's a boy from how your belly looks or the difference between a boy and a girl. Like a girl, you'll look wider and a boy, you'll look more narrow, but that's not the case because I was opposite with them. But again, I was very active with Marley. I walked every day. I lifted weights. I did Pilates until I was like 6 months pregnant with her. And then I eliminated that once my belly got too big. And then I kept walking and lifting weights as much as possible. With him, I literally did nothing, which I worked. But people think what I do is so physical, which it is, but it's totally different than working out. So I think it was just the fact that I really wasn't doing any of that. It made me, I definitely got wider for sure. Versus with her, I didn't get wide. And my belly was bigger, but again, I think I just also had a lot more fluid buildup because I wasn't moving enough.
Yeah. So you mentioned the like postnatal care. What did they do? What was their postnatal care?
So I had him Saturday, went back in Monday, and she checked him. So she did like weighed him again, checked like his belly button. I think she checked his little penis. I think she did. Just to make sure, just checked him out to make sure everything was good because, they stay in the hospital usually for probably like a normal baby would stay in there for 3 days. So they're constantly being checked on. So like 3 weeks later, but I think that was because I made an appointment with her to do a lactation consultation because he was latching really good. He was eating really good. And then all of a sudden he was just like starving constantly. Well, he ended up having 2 tongue ties, an upper and lower lip tie. So we went through a whole lactation thing. Then I had to get his tongue tie and lip ties fixed. But this was all separate. So the lactation stuff was separate. So then I went back. My postnatal care was then my 6-week post appointment, which they either they give you the option to do a PAP or not, which I did. And then they just check you to make sure you're good. Oh, wait, I did go in another time. Sorry. So that Monday after he was born, we went in for him. And then I did go back in maybe 2 weeks later or a week later. And they checked to make sure that my perineum healed, that whatever I ripped, whatever part I ripped.
Yeah.
So they did that. And then that might have been when they did the blood work again. My blood work. When everything was like at the higher range.
Yeah. Okay. If you ended up being pregnant again, what would you do?
Good question. We're going to prevent that. And I don't have an answer for you because I don't know.
You're like, no. My answer is no.
Even Steve, when I got pregnant with Gavin, he's like, this is it. He's the last of the Mohicans.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, good. No. And even just after all that, like, I don't know how people have more than 1 or 2 kids. And okay, I guess maybe if I was a stay-at-home mom and Steve made enough money to be able to support us in the way that we need to be supported in 2024 living in South Florida, because it's just, I mean, you can't.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy how much stuff costs. And then kids going to school, like, it's a lot. So,
well, that is quite a birth story.
I know. And I'm not even kidding you when I tell you, when I had Marley, before I had Marley, I was reading about natural births and birth centers, and I'm not even kidding you when they're like, it's so beautiful and it's orgasmic. And I think there was even an episode on Oprah like a long time ago that they were talking about. I was like, no, it's not. Not at all. I've never met a friend that has kids that has said their births were orgasmic. Like, one of my friends, she was trying to do everything herself at home, and she's like, I'm pretty sure I passed out on my toilet. And the baby at Hialeah Hospital, and she's like, it was the worst experience ever. Like, no. Instagram tells lies. Don't believe what you see on Instagram.
All right. Well, that just as I had always assumed, birth is not fun.
And then mine wasn't bad.
It's a trauma that you block out.
Well, and here's the other thing too. When I tell you, so they have been in business, they've been midwives for 16 years. And they were like, that was the easiest birth we've ever done. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, it wasn't. They're like, yes, it was. And I'm like, how was that the easiest birth you've ever done? They're like, because normally the births we do are like 10, 15, 20, 30 hours. I'm like, stop. They're like, yeah. I'm like, no, there's no chance. No chance. I would say C-section right now. We need an emergency C-section.
Well, I think, I don't know. Is that like 10, 20 hours of the contractions coming that quickly?
Well, so that's what I wondered too. And when I asked my friend Jamie, she said, yes, it was 30 hours of active, intense contractions. I'm like, what?
Oh my God.
But here's another thing that I think is a possibility. I think your labors are possibly hereditary because there's 4 kids in my family, and my mom said every single one of us came quick within like an hour.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and Marley,
I'm sure that that's true.
Like as soon as they broke my water with Marley, she came within like an hour or 2, and then I don't know. I don't remember if if Sandy fully broke my water or not at Gavin's birth, or if he just, I started having contractions. Like maybe at some point I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, and then wait, one more thing. So I did get my placenta encapsulated, and it was so small, but I asked her when she took it out of the water, I was like, that going to be safe? Because I was squirting so much poop out. And she's like, yeah. She's like, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. I was like,
she's like, just try not to think about it.
Yeah.
There's your birthing strategy. Just try not to think about it.
It was so tiny. I think I had like, I don't know, probably like 15 pills total. So I'm like, I don't know if that did anything, but yeah, here we are.
Oh my God. Yeah, I still want to know, like, I know in New Zealand they use like laughing gas in the birthing centers. Like they have like a combination there of like, it's like a birthing center and the doctor, it seems like. Well, okay, it seems like that from a show I watched. So maybe it's wrong. But they acted like it was like the normal thing. So like she was the OB-GYN or whatever they call them there. And then, but they had like the balance balls, they had tubs, they had, like showers and stuff like that. And then they had the laughing gas, which I know they used to do in the States. So I wonder what that would have felt. Seems like it'd be hard to focus.
Listen, it's no matter what, it's hard to focus. If you have an epidural, it's hard to focus because then you have people yelling at you to push, and you're like, I'm pushing. Like, I can't feel half of my body, but I think in my mind I'm pushing. So it's hard if you have an epidural because then at that point you really don't know what you're doing. The body is doing all the work, I think. And then when you go natural, it's hard. You feel everything. So laughing gas might be the way to go. Yeah, because at that point you can't feel anything and everyone's telling you to push and you're like, I'm pushing in my mind. I don't know if my body's pushing. And then when you go natural, it's hard because then you feel everything. So maybe laughing gas is the way to go. Maybe it'll be more fun that way. I don't know.
I just know it's illegal in Costa Rica to use with dental work because I could have really used it when I was getting like all 9 of my fillings removed and replaced in 6 days. That I might take a birthing experience over doing that again.
That's the thing. Once they're out, you're done. You're good. Like, I mean, you're not really hitting.
Yeah. You said you were like a little sore.
Yes, I was just gonna say this time I feel like my midsection took longer to heal than it did with her, and I attribute that to the epidural because I think once I had the epidural, I just didn't have to push as hard. Like with him, it was so intense just in my belly that it was like my belly got the craziest workout, and it took a good like 2 to 3 weeks to feel normal. Where with her, I felt fine like by the next day or like 2 days later.
Wow.
So yeah.
All right. So what's are you back? Are you like back to work full time?
Yeah, I went back after 4 weeks, which I kind of regret, but that's okay. I'm only taking 1 client a day. It's just it's tough. It's tough juggling 2 kids, a newborn, work. So I am figuring out some other things. So we might have other things coming.
But I'm sure we'll be hearing from you soon after Marley starts camp and can get you back in the rotation. And stay caught up. So I guess we'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay, see you next Tuesday.